us to share their views and insights on a very relevant and contemporary topic of employability scenario and options for passing out graduates. So I would invite our director, sir, Dr. Shraban Mukherjee, to give the context of the theme and welcome our speakers. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all of you, those that are participant of this conference, this webinar. And I could see many people are joined outside IMS, and special welcome to them. And also the panelist who has agreed to be with us and to share their views. Especially Professor S.P. Mishra is a veteran, spent long time on entrepreneurship development related area. We have Runa, who has experience with a large number of corporations as a employee or as a consultant or as a resource person. We have with the Sarath Sharmaji, who has a long experience on the insurance sector. We have a Hemaji. She is not only is a senior HR professional, more than 25 years experience, but also she is a community volunteer, speaker, working on many area on leadership and mentoring. We have with us Shankar Srinivasanji at Heidelberg. He has a long experience in IT, ITS, manufacturing, and I think, and also we have Mr. Vinod Padur from the Nilkamal Industries. And this variety of professionals, I think eco is coming. So I'll push. Okay.
I think there is some technical glitch. Ahmed, could you please resolve it?
Okay. Thank you to all the panelists to be here. That is a problem with the Google. Meet. But anyway.
At the same place. So the device is switched on together. Maybe it's a phone and a laptop.
Everybody put a mute, please. Only we'll speak. We'll put on the. Everybody put on the mute, please. All panelists also requested to put on mute. Still the echo is coming. Hemant Kumar Verma, please mute. Monica, you start because it is coming mute. Yeah, is echo for you also?
I'll just see. I think it's. Is it clear? Is it audible?
Is it clear?
It is.
Is it clear?
Okay. So should I start then?
Yeah, because let me try once more, and then if it doesn't work, yes, you take it over. So we are at a crossroad now because many people say it's a new normal, but I feel it is abnormal situation. We, all of us here, whether those are working in the industry, those managing people, those are in the delivery ends, but also the faculty. Because in this group of the webinar, they have a lot of faculty and students have joined. All are confused because they don't know what is going to happen for them as a career when they pass out from the college. Few companies already started saying the delay of their offer. They're supposed to join in July. They said it will be 2 months or 3 months. Going forward, there is a problem at H1B and US, China issue and other issue with the travel sector, tourism sector, automobile sector, core sector, all coming together. Students are confused, teachers are confused, what direction they should move, what they should do, so that should be future ready. So all the panelists, we are looking forward to guide them. Obviously, after 2 years, everything will be normal. But 1 to 1.5 years, there is a time, lot of uncertainties, lot of confusions, lot of tensions. and lot of uneasiness. I don't know what is going to happen. And those are starting at the beginning of the career, and it's a very tough time to them. They're coming back to teachers and asking for guidance from somewhere to somebody. So having all of you as a senior panelist, I think you can give them some guidance. The coming 6 months, what are the things they should do? How to become more employable? How to use this time, even if they not got employed or the appointment is got delayed, how they can utilize this 6 months to 9 months time and help the teachers how to guide them for future. These questions I'm asking for the people, those are pre-final and final year students. Those will be mostly here. And the faculties, those are involved with the students as a mentoring and teaching them. So we look from this all panelists to give the view. With a small introduction, floor to you, Monica.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, sir has already set the context for the webinar. I'll add a little to kickstart the discussions further. Sharing some statistics. Every year, around 12 to 15 lakh engineering students and around 2 to 5 lakh management graduates pass out. 75% of them join jobs, and rest 25% either start their own ventures or pursue higher studies. And the same number of graduates is expected or are passing out this year also. But this year, as sir has already said, and we all know that this is unprecedented and unusual. The students are wondering as to which road to follow, as all the roads seem to have very difficult terrains. We know that the economy is under turmoil. However, there are certain sectors such as e-commerce or digital payment companies which have seen growth during this pandemic period. In such a scenario, I would like to know from our esteemed panelists about the actual, what do you think is the actual job scenario for the passing out graduates? Is it as gloomy as the buzzword is around, or there is a silver lining, there is a hope that all students can look forward to? So I would start with Mr. Shankar. Like, what are your views on this? That what is the current job scenario?
Okay, good morning to everyone. I hope I'm audible and clear.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, so I head HR for Heidelberg India Private Limited, where we manufacture heavy printing press machines. And we do this machines installation, commissioning, and then provide services. And we also supply consumables for all India. And ours is a very big company across the world. And I'm also responsible for Asia Pacific sales excellence domain. I take care of that domain and then lead all sales excellence projects for Asia Pacific. Answering to the question of Dr. Monica had asked, the current job scenario in our company, how we have seen this is, today is the day where, like the Mr. Director had said, we are all in confusion stage. Please remember, even in the industrialist corporates are also in the confusion stage, because the incoming whatever comes to the office and outgoing is also being challenged in these days. And very importantly, when it comes to the recruitment and getting the people into the corporate and all that area, we have planned and we are taking a baby step to see how effectively we'll get the positive impact having going for recruitment. For example, if I could tell you, we have a R&D division and we have a supply management division where we still recruiting people. We have also announced that we will recruit 10,000 more people across the world going forward. But at the same time, we are also having a huge task of reducing manpower of 2,000 people across the world. It is like, you have to make a tunnel, you have to dig the hole by cutting some trees. So we have a clear strategy plan of recruiting people and also letting go few headcounts. That is the scenario having in front of us. We are trying to be very careful in recruiting people who are stick to their core. students who are stick to the core, where they can add value in R&D, they have knowledge with that, and then they have worked some projects in that. We are still recruiting people in R&D in our headquarters. And then we also look out for supply management, supply chain management, specialized students, where they have some experience and come out with some kind of a project which they have done in an innovative way. We are still looking out for them. So to summarize my point here, we are still doing recruitment and still planning, having a strong plan for cutting the headcounts. This is the scenario that I have to share here.
Very good. Thank you, sir. 10,000 people in R&D and SCM. So that is a very good news for the students. So we have Mr. Sharad, who comes from a service sector, that is life insurance, Pramerica Life Insurance. Sir, I would request you to put your insights on this.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. My name is Sharad Sharma, and I head the HR for a company called Pramerica Life Insurance. This is basically a joint venture with Prudential of US and DHFL. DHFL is exiting this business. We are one of the largest insurance companies in India. If I have to really look at the scenario today, for sure, companies are reflecting back on how the business is going to look like for them. And I think every industry is going to look at it very, very differently. It will be unfair to say that there will be short of jobs. I think there are industries which are going to flourish in this time. You will see an upswing in the telecom and technology side. As we are moving more towards virtual business, I think the bandwidth, internet, telecom, they are going to play a very, very big role. I think India as a country still is not very matured when it comes to connectivity and when it comes to bandwidth. So there will be a lot of demand on that side. Online retail, I think the entire consumer behavior is going to move towards that side. So, it is just not about, people delivering items, but I think it's the entire engine which is going to work on, putting technology in place, putting digital methods in place. So there is going to be a lot of scope for people in the digital side. I think third important area which I foresee is medical electronics and telemedicine. I think this is one industry which is going to flourish. It has always been a trading industry, but you will see an upswing in a lot of companies setting up their manufacturing facilities with regards to medical electronics. A lot of focus will go on telemedicine. Again, a lot of platform on digital and automation. So I would say that these are industries which are going to definitely hire. If I really speak of my industry, which is the life insurance, I think this entire thing has really made people think once again the need to have insurance, both health and life. There is still, as we all know, the penetration has not been very great with regards to insurance. We continue to hire a lot of people in sales, but the profiling of those sales people will undergo a change. You will possibly look for digital savvy people who could sell on on digital platform, people who have a technology orientation, people who have an automation orientation. You will look at a lot of people who could bring in innovation. So yeah, we may not be hiring in large numbers, but this is one industry which is going to flourish. But yes, considering the entire business sentiments have gone down today, we have not been very aggressively hiring. But just to tell to this group, every year we intake roughly 20 to 25 management trainees who are basically management graduates from all category A and category B colleges. We have a full-blown management program which runs for 9 months on the job training. We train them on technology, sales, processes, operations and everything, and then they go back to their core functions. This year we haven't hired anyone because it just started when we were about to kind of go to colleges. So, but yeah, I think we are not looking at a slow scale growth. The hiring is happening. So if I was hiring 50 to 100 people, today I hire maybe 25 to 30 people on a daily basis. But these are largely technology people. These are largely sales people. These are largely people coming in from this digital background. So that would be my insight.
Okay, thank you so much. Very positive news that you are still hiring and you are hiring 25 to 30 management graduates. That's good. And you have said that the telecom companies, digital companies, the medical equipment, or the health and the life insurance companies are the ones which we can look up to. So we have got another very experienced industry professional who's coming from a very interesting company, the Lennox India, Miss Hema. I would request you, ma'am, to give your insights.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and it's a pleasure to e-meet with all of you. I'm Hema Mani. I am the Asia Pacific HR leader for Lennox International. Lennox International is in a very interesting business, as Monica said. We manufacture centralized air conditioners and refrigeration systems for commercial purposes. And with a good grace, it is in the essentials commodities business. So, kind of extending to what both Shankar and Sharad, provided their insights. I'd like to break it into two parts. And most of you are students of MBA and engineering. What you're seeing today is a shift in importance given in industries. Industries will certainly not go out of space, and we still need the kind of things that we are all demanding. So that's here to stay. But what will change is the way organizations are restructuring businesses. I mean, if you've heard what Shankar carefully said, while he's going to hire 10,000 people, he's also going to let go of 2,000 people. And that should actually drive the focus on where are the new skills going to be in demand. And just a perspective, I come in from an essential commodities business. We continue to see an upsurge in demand. We continue to see an upsurge in sales. We continue to hire. What has for us is the kind of skills we were hiring between yesterday and today. If we were looking at a certain range of skills which were vanilla in nature, which means which are common skills available, and if those skills can be automated or leaned, that work process can be leaned, we are relooking at can we restructure that particular business and redefine the roles so that the organization benefits out of a much leaner structure. So, in essential, for those of you who are in MBA, it's a time for lean. It's a time if you have an interest in lean Six Sigma or lean processing, this is the time where you can apply some of those learnings and find opportunities in those spaces. So for me, particularly, what are some of the roles that are emerging out there which will be in demand for many of you young minds, and I'm sure will appeal to all of you? I have heard of a state a couple of years back when students would say the jobs that we are getting are pretty boring because we are just doing the same things day in and day out. Guess what? The next few jobs that are going to open out are going to really test you in terms of sheer intelligence and your resilience when you come into workforce. So some of the skills for me that is going to be on an uprise is in the space of automation, simply because large companies are going to look at how do we minimize a repetition of work, how do we bring down headcount, and thereby how do we bring down overhead cost. And that will mean we will have to do large scale automation. The second is risk management. I mean, COVID has taught us a huge lesson on how organizations to focus on business continuity planning. How do we continue operating a manufacturing line, or how do we continue sales when such large scale disruptions happen? So those of you who are inclined towards risk management, that is a space that will open out. As Sharad pointed out, health and well-being will be on an uprise, not only from just the healthcare sector, but even organizations like ours, we are investing heavily on mental well-being and mental health. So that whole plethora of opportunities around healthcare, mental well-being will be on an uprise. So if you are a student of psychology and organizational psychology, or if you would like to pursue that, that is a stream of which will open immense doors of opportunities. The third space for those of you who are in the engineering field would be digital, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Quite honestly, about 6 months back, these were buzzwords. A lot of organizations wanted to use these words. A lot of organizations had little systems that were working on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and digitization. bless COVID in one way, it's actually pushed that whole incubation into mainstream. And today, organizations are absolutely demanding it and demanding it now. So, if you are interested in the space of artificial intelligence, machine learning, digitization, this is the time. This is the time to really harvest out what you really aspire for. Those of you in marketing, if you are in the space of marketing, sales and marketing will continue to be in demand. But as Sharad rightly pointed out, what we are looking for is new go-to-market strategies, new ways of reaching out and influencing potential buyers. So if you are a person who can imagine and reimagine the marketscape, reimagine the product portfolio, that is something that you should aspire for. Basic new product development. For those of you who are in core engineering of mechanical and electronics, new product development is going to be seeing a heavy push, because suddenly you will see a lot of products that we today have in market may not really be something that the new market will need, and therefore there'll be a new. The other day I was seeing a small documentary. I think it was a langar held somewhere in north of India, and there was a distribution of food. And I was amazed to see how rudimentary innovation was happening at grassroots level to serve food in a langar. Such an automated, non-physically touch methodology. So those are opportunities out there. And then, of course, as I finally mentioned, a huge focus on making sure you're applying your creative thinking more than your tacit knowledge. I think that will be what HR leaders like us would look out for. If you're somebody who can think extraordinarily, if you're somebody who can think creatively, if you're someone who's very resilient, there are jobs out there, and there will always continue to be demand for jobs out there. So these are some points, and I'd like to hear more from my other panelists. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like, you have given a very comprehensive way that how specifying the different branches or the different areas where the students can look for in the digital area, or the artificial intelligence, ML are the buzzwords. So quickly, I would move to Dr. Runa Metra. A very quick remark on the job scenario. What is your perspective about it?
Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Monica, and my fellow colleagues. And thanks everyone for joining us. It's definitely a crucial moment that we together look into the job market and understand the prospect. And I'm so glad that my fellow speakers have given very, very solid perspectives to all of you. And definitely our audience is a mix of people from engineering background, management background. Interestingly, I could see some videos coming up, and some people who were kind of probably settling themselves in the program, but the kind of people popped up, I could see that we have another segment of people who are possibly faculties and are from corporate side. So we have definitely a mix, and jointly we are battling the situation where we are trying to understand how the job market is. And I will reflect on my recent experience of doing some video interview for world's #1 job portal. I will not name them, otherwise I'll sound like marketing them. So, but you can imagine, and I'm not talking about Pride Naukri, but I'm talking about #1 job portal of the world, and it's US based. And for them, I was doing some job interviews of CHROs and talent acquisition heads. And what I could gather, that most of the organizations which are into, primarily what my fellow speakers talked about, ITES, which is technology and also customer service oriented organization. And that is also global customer service we are talking about. And then we have e-commerce and logistics companies. I think they grew manyfold. And very recently, I was actually moderating a webinar where we were focusing on e-commerce industry, and we had people from Big Basket, Grofers, Swiggy, and all of them are talking about that they really need people because this particular industry is growing, and they are looking at scaling up. They're actually supporting the essential industry, as like Hema was talking about. Like in case the organizations like Hema's Linux, or another lady I was speaking to who's the CHRO of Carrier Media, they're all kind of sharing that if the essential items has to move to home, because most of us are now also working from anywhere, working from home, so we need supplies. So that is possible through logistics and e-commerce support. So that is where the loads of job possibilities are coming up. And surely when we talk about e-retail, e-medical, we also should not miss e-learning. So plenty of opportunities have come up because of COVID, that people are now opting for online learning. And most of the training and development heads and HR heads, even for that matter, functional heads, are allocating people to attend not only webinars, which is relevant to their knowledge gathering, also many products and online programs coming up through Udemy, Coursera. I think we all the time take their name, but just Google and find how many new organizations have come up. So these are the organization who need people. And as Sharad mentioned, sales and marketing will never go out of the window. We will always need salespeople. Similarly, a lot of technology companies came forward. It's so interesting, and like we say that necessity is the mother of invention. So when I was speaking to few people who were actually looking at how to honor their talent acquisition outcome, which is hiring and onboarding, when they're trying to onboard their new people, they didn't know how to go about it. So then they could find out. And in fact, I learned from the CHRO group, and most of us would agree that actually new companies came up to assist the organization, especially HR department, how to logistically support handing over the gadgets, items required at home to work, and also for exit management, collect those items and manage the whole scenario when an organization has to go through the process of exiting people and the employees, and managing those activities. So these new companies came up with innovation. I would actually highlight particularly one industry, which is edtech. So when we talk about edtech, the whole academia has undergone change. Look at all the colleges, they are actually, and schools in fact, they are going ahead and ensuring the teaching is completed. The responsibility of making sure the students have access to information, they are able to write exams, they are able to write, also collect all the required data online. So education industry has also now being looked at as edtech, and no longer simple academia with pen and paper. Why am I sharing this? Because when we look at the mindsets of our students and faculty and parents, I think we still have somewhere that conventional understanding of job roles. So my humble request to look into this, and also consider alternate career. I will go deeper into it when I mean alternate career in terms of entrepreneurship. So I think with that, I would say that consider the roles, especially role of analyst, role of customer service, role of which entails project management, which is part of the gig economy. Ensure that you have research skill, you're agile, your commitment is there, so that you are actually standing out in the whole gamut of scenario, and you're the one not waiting for anybody to give you some assignment. You're continuously upskilling yourself through various mechanisms. I think that is the name of the game. With that, I'll hand it over to Monica, and I'm sure we have loads of questions later.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. You have given a very good insight, and you have raised certain issues which I'll be talking about later on. But you very rightly said that necessity is the mother of invention, and we are witnessing many new companies coming up which are supporting the essential industries or the essentials which are required. So there is new hope for the students. A very quick remark: we have got Mr. Vinod Parur from Neel Kamal India, which is the world's largest furniture manufacturing, furniture molding company. So, Mr. Vinod Parur, a very quick remark from you on what is the job scenario you feel like.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you. And I think my response would be very quick because my colleagues and panelists have helped me, to address everything. So I don't have much to say, but I think for the students, I would like to specifically say, I know we all know this is a time of uncertainty, but it's important now, when we start off something like this or in the current scenario, especially the students, I would request them to stay away from all the negativity spreading around, because that's not what the reality would be. So while we have heard from all the speakers, but we know there are certain industries, there has been a slowdown, and I would say people are taking their time. So it's not going down. It's just it's like a pause button, which has been clicked at this point of time. But there are certain industries, as many of you have already covered, as moving up. You look at the healthcare industry. One industry also which is coming up is the facility management. There are a lot of opportunity in the warehousing. See the way Amazon is stacking up everything now. Let me share you a few experience of our own company. Will not take too much of time. So while we are into furniture, we are also into material handling. So we do everything required for storage of materials, for the movement of materials. And if to be honest, in the last 3 months, we have been breaking our own records. We were never into the hospital beds. We are into hospital beds now. A product which we innovated in 2 days' time, and now we are in demand. Now, it's the way we are growing, we are breaking our own record. So I would say, there are a lot of opportunity in build, especially for the students, the faculty members. It's not important. It's important to stay away from the negativity flow which is going in across. Let me share you a very quick insight. The kind of recruitment which is happening. One thing in disguise what has happened. You would know the interview process before. There were different rounds of interview. There were assessment. एक round clear हो गया, दूसरा round clear हो गया. Now you would be surprised to know the offers are made within few hours. And everyone, now the way we see, we are around 75 or 100 people in this. So all the panels are in 1 hour, the decision is made, and the positions are closed. So there are a lot of positivity also around. So I think we need to strike a balance between the two. So that are the highlights I would like to share, while my colleagues have already covered most of the things. So it's the time to stay positive, look at the brighter side of it. And I think this is also the best time, to upskill and, make the best out of it. So stay positive is what I would say at this point of time. And then we will further discuss. We have not many other interesting insight questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vinod. Thank you so much. We have Dr. Mishra, who is a veteran and has done a lot of work in the area of entrepreneurship. Sir, I would like to know from you that from the academic point of view, or what is floating in the market, that how the job scenario is there, because all our industry people, they are giving a very positive picture. Dr. Mishra, sir.
Good morning. Are you able to listen to me, Monica?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So good morning to Dr. Mukherjee, Monica, and all our esteemed panelists, whom I'm able to see, and also whom I'm not able to see. First of all, let me congratulate Dr. Mukherjee and Monica both for selecting this particular topic, particularly for outgoing students of management education and engineering education. And I would say that Hemaji and Runaji both have set the stage rolling. The moment you call about the entrepreneurship, both of them have touched very nicely. I would simply, on the basis of my experience, something which is going on, let me just try to give some direction to our students. The first thing I would say that they must try to understand the entrepreneurship in different perspective. Now, different meaning is not simply undertaking a particular set of economic activity. This is not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is virtually a pursuit of excellence in any area. So the moment you are pursuing, excellence in any area, you are becoming an entrepreneur. And let me tell you that never before in the history, India has witnessed so much of conducive environment and policy changes in the area of entrepreneurship, which we are experiencing today. Now, almost every month, new policy is coming, new schemes are being announced. But the most important scheme for the student is what Hemaji touched upon, coming out something new. And in the particular situations, if at all you start thinking innovation is becoming important. And how to go for innovation, let me say to the students, now the incubation, for example, incubation is set almost all good engineering colleges and all good institutions where, students are coming with innovative ideas. They are being provided all kinds of facilities to undertake research and development and finally come out with a product, test the product in the market and go for setting up enterprise. This is the kind of mechanism. And this innovation system and incubation is becoming very common. There are many colleges which have started incubation system. And the best part is Government of India has taken initiative. And I would like to mention two schemes here for the benefit of a student. One of the scheme is known as EIR. This is Nidhi EIR. Nidhi EIR. NIDHI Nidhi EIR. EIR. This Nidhi EIR is National Initiative for Developing and Harnessing Innovations. And EIR is Entrepreneurs in Residence. Entrepreneurs in Residence, meaning thereby those students who are going out and they have some ideas and from home itself, they would like to initiate some kind of research and development and innovative activities. They have a very good opportunity to avail this particular scheme, which provides them 30,000 rupees per month, in addition to meeting the development cost, that is the prototype development cost. So they get 30,000 rupees per month. This 30,000 is not in all cases, but minimum is 10,000, maximum is 30,000 per month for 12 months. Meaning thereby, 12 months you are getting, something to take care of yourself, and 12 months you can concentrate on for research and development for, involved in some kind of innovation for developing a new kind of product. So this is one scheme launched by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And this scheme is in operation in many other institutions. Like, for example, KITE is one institute where this particular scheme, Krishna Institute of Engineering and Technology is one institute where this scheme is in operation. Any student, this scheme is not for KITE only, but this scheme is open to students of all the colleges. So for engineering students particularly, if in case they would like to avail, they can go. Another scheme is Nidhi Prayas. Prayas is, promotion and acceleration of youth and aspiring innovators and startup. This is the Prayas. And in this scheme, the government is paying a grant of rupees 10 lakh for development of a prototype and providing infrastructure, mentorship, and also seed capital assistance. And seed capital assistance is yet another scheme where any student, without going into the banking sector, in non-banking sector from college itself, a student can avail a loan facility up to 20 lakh rupees. This seed capital assistance is there for getting involved into it. So for the students, the first thing is you need to think a little differently, and you need to tune yourself to the present situation that people are wanting something new. And something new, why? Because we are importing thousands of goods from different other countries. And for example, from China, we are importing 67% of the different automobile parts. Today's Economic Times. You can read it and you can find the details. Now, in case we would like to produce those items and we would like to develop those items, here is an opportunity for all of us. In service sector, our management students can get it. I'm also dealing with management students and engineering students both. And there is an emergence of a combination of management plus engineering student combined together, setting up enterprise. And the management student is involved in the managing, and the technical aspect is being looked after by the engineering student. So there are many areas like this where the management students and engineering students combine together. Not necessarily that manufacturing only in engineering students can come in. Even the management students can come in this particular area. And examples are very many where many e-marketing has been undertaken by management student and the engineering students, particularly the computer and IT students combining with that. There are schemes like Atmanirbhar, Bharat, recently announced, for example, by the Prime Minister. Now you will be wondering about it, that in this particular scheme, any students who would be willing to get it and setting their enterprise, they have a chance. And there is a high order of probability. Why I'm saying? Because the seed capital assistance scheme is there. And along with that, the integrated scheme is, for example, Mudra Yojana, where very easily up to 10 lakh rupees you can get it without any collateral security. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program is yet another kind of program. Loan in 59 minutes is yet another kind of program. And there are other areas, specific areas when students, can get it. I'm not saying theoretically. I'm saying practically, because I am working as a mentor for many students, where the students undertaking research and development, developing product, testing products, setting up enterprises, and availing, these kinds of facilities from the government side. There are many things which I can keep on talking about in this particular area, but I'll sum up by saying that students need to think entrepreneurship as alternate career option. There are many students, what Monica said, about 25% of the students, either they are going for higher studies or they are opting for self-employment and entrepreneurship. This is very good time, very high time, for all our students community to start thinking about it, to be innovative, and to take advantage of this scheme and become owner of their own, master of their own. So I wish all of them to get into it and go details of all these schemes and take advantage of it. Thank you, and over to Monica.
Thank you, sir. It's very knowledgeable. Lots of schemes are there. Government is supporting. But I'd like to touch upon these points a little later and would try to have insights from the other speakers as well. But through the panelists, two things have emerged. Ms. Hema talked about vanilla skills, which are no more required, and there has to be a shift. So I would like to ask, that what do you think? Though Ms. Hema has already elaborated on that, I would like to take the insights from Mr. Shankar. That what do you think are the competencies or the skills industry will be looking for?
Yeah, this is
from the graduates now.
Great. This is very important question, and we keep upgrading ourselves when we look at our requirement for the global scenario as well as for Asia Pacific, including India. You need to understand that you need to stay relevant. Okay, so you should acquire new skills and you should let go few skills. When I say you should acquire new skills, I can tell you what we are working on right now so that I can connect with some examples as well. I told you we manufacture heavy printing press machines. The printing press machines worth of, let's say, 3 crore to 20 crores Indian rupees if we have to buy one machine, which is used for an industrial purpose. If you go to any packaging in a supermarket with the box and all that, that gets printed and packed material and all that comes from our machine. And now this type of packaging, we produce 1,000 to 18,000 sheets per hour. That kind of a machine variability that we have. And these machines are located in many places, many major cities across India, almost 10 major places across India. And very importantly, what I was trying to tell you is these machines are connected to internet. Now, when somebody is printing boxes, or somebody is printing a label, or the label which could be, comes in a adhesive tube, let's say your toothpaste or cosmetics, face creams, Himalayas, like that, those kind of labels are getting printed in our machine. This data is sitting in our machine, and what we do with this data, then we came out with a thought of analyzing those data with the principles of big data, which we have started as part of Asia 4.0 projects, not now, 5 years before. But when we started this 5 years before, it started yielding a wonderful value now of analyzing which customer has done best during which time, with what material, and how this is adding a value to his profitability. This process involves a lot of analytics which we need to prepare and then present it to the customer. So this comes from a analytic point of view. So students, I wanted to tell you, if you have a flair of getting into an understanding and offering solutions via analytics, then this is something which you need to look at. Like big data is what the many of the courses that's been offering, Runa madam had said about that online courses, there are plenty available for big data. I can tell you an example. If the ants keep walking in a row, if something gets stopped in between, the ants won't go back. It will take another route, or take a little diversion and then go forward, right? Similarly, when during this unprecedented times, if you find a difficulty, please start working out on your core. What is that you need to understand, what is that you need to get yourself accustomed with the industry which you are focusing for. Not only that, if you are focusing, let's say for example, A industry, who are the customers of that industry? Let's say, for example, if you are aiming for company A, who are the customers of company A? If you could understand their requirements, the customers of the customers, then it would be easy for you to understand what this company which you are aiming for, this industry which you are aiming for, will be very, very clear to you. And then if you work out on it, then you will get into that. Like I have told you, big data is one, and then there are several skills which we are looking at. Number two, I was keep telling you about R&D. Like Nilkamal, Mr. Vinod had said that they were able to quickly innovate a few new product which they have not done earlier, and then start manufacturing. Like Hema madam as well, she told, new product development. This is something where we are also concentrating, that you need to work on your R&D skills, gathering information, working on it, do some research, and then coming out with some solution and presenting it out. If you could work on this kind of skills, I think this is going to be a clear, unique perspective which will bring out of you. Okay, these are the two skills that I can tell you. Quickly, if I could tell you about the competencies, my friends, I have to tell you, I have joined this company 5 years before as head of HR, and after 2 years, based on the type of responsibilities that I take in, the kind of passion that I show in every deliverables, I was given additional responsibility. So you need to understand that you should be a person, go and take responsibility and sincerely work on it and have a deep knowledge towards it. If you have a deep knowledge towards it, then you will come out with a different perspective, and you will be a clear differentiator from you and your fellow members. Therefore, out of in Asia Pacific, we have 9 territories, 9 different countries, which includes Australia, Japan as as well, Singapore as well. Out of all the HR members, I was given this opportunity to work on this sales excellence and then work with the sales heads of these countries and then help them to bring out a different perspective and offer ideas. Whatever projects that these people have to work on, I have to interact with the HR members and then get a value to the system. So why this has come to me? This is not only that you need to understand the HR competencies that you have, but also to work on the business that is expected you to perform. You need to change, you need to upskill, and you need to cross skill as well. So the competency that you need to have is very, very importantly, you need to be very, very clear in taking responsibility and then acquiring new skills and then willing to travel and be open-minded. While I said all this, you should also understand the world is becoming very, very, coming very, very closer. People here gets opportunity to work in other country and other country people coming here. So you should also be understanding what is cross culture and how you should get ready with the cross culture requirements, understand it. And if you could fine tune yourself, then you will be more relevant. Like I've said in the starting, stay relevant. So you will become more relevant. If you could develop this kind of a competency in you, then you are there. And last point which I wanted to tell you is you should be willing to travel as well. You can wonder why I'm talking about travel at this point of time. Like one of the speaker was saying, you know, this would go away after 2 years' time. That is the time you need to understand that you need to be travel. If you are a person, you can't travel out of your region, district or state, then you may not be staying relevant to what industry wants. You need to keep traveling. Go and gather, get the business that company can make profitability. And if you could do that by taking additional responsibility, then you are the person that we would look out for. I'll give you one quick example. The MD of Heidelberg, India, where we had earlier, this person started as a...
Can you shorten it?
Yeah.
Because we have...
Yeah. I just give this example alone. This person from Doshe, from Denmark, he has moved to India as a trainee. He moved to part of Australia, New Zealand, Korea, and then he came back to India as MD. Person born in Denmark had gone into all these places and then came, which means he is willing to travel, he is taking more responsibility, he's understanding cross culture. This is something which we are sincerely looking out for in our company. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, sir. Now, the thing which I'm getting from all the speakers, one word, one term which I have got from almost all the speakers, that is upskilling. That means students need to go for upskilling. So I would just request Mr. Sharad and Mr. Vinod to share their insights on the upskilling quickly. Mr. Sharad, please.
Yeah, so one of the things which I would really advise all these students to really do is, one question which is going to be asked to almost all the people who are aspiring for jobs is that what did they do in lockdown? I think it is very important that this period which has already gone by and which continues to be in a limbo right now, it is very important that each student should pick up one or the other skill which is outside their domain, and it has to be relevant. It is not just about doing anything and everything. It has to be something which you are able to relate to, which you are able to connect to, and which you are able to explain to an interviewer why did you do that. Just to give you an example, the entire meaning of selection process has changed, which means that I think that for some more time there is not going to be a physical interface. So the interviews are going to be virtual, and the patience of interviewer will not be as much as what it was when he or she was meeting you in person. So one of the skills which one should really attain is, how do you really crack virtual interviews? How do you really choose right words? How do you really present yourself in a manner which appeals the interviewer to engage with you in a conversation? There are a lot of psychometric testing which is going to happen, which possibly would not have been happening when you were actually doing an in-person interview. The candidates are going to be evaluated on ability to work in complex environment, ability to work in an uncertain situation, ability to work in a virtual setup. So, you need to kind of get onto those kind of tools online. These are tools which are available, and I'm sure Runa ma'am can really help the institute on finding out such tools. But these are tools which are readily available online, where you test yourself, where you test your behavior, where you test your personality, where you test your blind spots, where you test your ability to really articulate in a manner that the interviewer keeps the interest alive in you as a candidate. So I think this, to my mind, is a very, very important tool. And somewhere I think that people who are graduating this year are really going to lay a foundation for the next 15 years. People who have been already working in the companies for the last 1 decade or maybe for 2 decades have already been oriented and conditioned in a manner that they need a physical place to work. They need policies around that. They need to be paid for 9 hours. They have to have a salary structure. I think this new generation which is going to go post COVID-19, there is a lot of change which is going to happen in the entire working protocol. It is no longer about having a physical office. So I think somewhere one has to really seep in with this thought. They may or may not have an office. It might just be a virtual working. It may not be 9 hours working for them. It may be virtual working. The hours may not matter. The output will matter. So I think, these are some of the things which you have to really gather when you speak to a prospective employer, and brush up your skills, pick up online courses which keeps you an edge above than your counterpart. You are able to articulate more than possibly your counterpart is able to explain. And just don't do any course which is available. There is a whole lot of rush of online courses these days. Just don't pick up any course, because you will not be able to substantiate that. So pick up courses which you are able to relate to, where you have a genuine interest, where you are able to explain why did you pick it up, and is it really going to add value to you. I think that's what I would possibly give my advice to the students. And some of the skills which you asked, that what are some of the skills which companies would be looking at. I think being digital savvy is something which is going to be the most important priority. So even if you are a mechanical engineer, or you have done an operations management MBA or a finance management MBA, unless you have a digital orientation, you're not going to survive in this new post-COVID scenario. Critical thinking. It is no longer about scripted jobs. It is no longer about somebody gives you a job description. It is, how do you really critically evaluate and critically think about your job, and how are you able to really think out of box to bring efficiency in the work which has been given to you. Adaptability is the most important thing. There are a lot of people in the industry, across companies, are struggling today because they just can't relate themselves with a virtual working. There is a phobia that if I sit at home, then there is a social stigma. I am possibly maybe left out in the organization. There are a lot of those mindsets which are right now people are grappling with. So adaptability is another thing which has to be there. Finding information, irrespective of whatever field you are in, there is a lot of research mindset which has to seep in. You have to find out what's happening in a country, what's happening in other industry. It may not be a relevant industry to you, but there may be some practices which possibly can be imbibed in a completely different industry. So finding out information, doing a lot of research, finding out what's happening in other industry, working with virtual teams. The team may not be working with you. Your manager, you possibly may not be able to see your manager for months and months. How do you really relate to that working style? These are some of the things which I think is very, very important for students to really understand.
Thank you so much. I would request Mr. Vinod for again a quick remark on this.
Sure. I think if you look at upskilling, I think it was very relevant before the COVID also. And I think upskilling is something which should not be relevant only. Of course, this is relevant to the students, but I think each and every one of us, it's important for us to be meaningful in wherever we are, whether it's students, whether it's corporate, the faculty members. I think upskilling, or you can even reskilling, or whatever, has to be the part of it. And as Sharath rightly said, this is now going to be a favorite questions with students to answer. What did you do during this COVID time? How did you, what are the development activities which you undertake? And I think I'm very sure, and I think everyone is sure, if we can't do it now, then we always had an excuse, time nahi hai, we're all busy. And if now we can't do it, let us be very clear, we can never do it. And I think this is going to be the norm now. And students, everyone, each one of us, this has to be, looked at on top priority at this point of time. So there is no way out in this. longer people are going to talk about global, people are going to talk about local. And you know, when we're talking about upskilling, when we're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, it is important first for ourselves in Atmanirbhar. And I think upskilling is going to be playing a very critical role for that. So it's going to be the most important. So there is no compromise, no other way out of it. And it's going to be a critical factor. And students, it's very important for you to take, you know, has to be the priority list. You have to set your daily goals. Today I'm going to learn this. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. And you have to have that, you know, somewhere very clearly visible. So it has to be the priority list. While just to also add on, while we covered on the competencies, I would not get back to it, but I think it's important for the student at this point of time. Your mental well-being is going to be the priority for each one of you. So please keep that also in the focus for you. And of course, your social and emotional skills are going to be very critical going forward when you get into the corporate life. So that's something which I wanted to share with the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Mishra, he talked about entrepreneurship and he said that there are many government policies which are supporting the startup ecosystem in our country. But I would like to ask Dr. Runa Mitra, who has done lots of work with the startups, that do you think the same situation remains as of now also? Is it still a good alternative, a viable alternative to the job as compared to the jobs for the students?
Yeah, it's actually a favorite question of mine because since the COVID happened, many things changed, especially people who had been dependent on on-ground kind of work. And I'm not talking about production here, a lot of services. That changed its route, like Sharad was mentioning, and also Shankar mentioned that you have to Shankar, especially your ant analogy was very beautiful. And I was looking at a movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's Inception. Okay, that how do you have your maze, your thinking process, an entire value creation through layers, which we normally use for problem solving. So when people are looking at certain areas, gaps, capability which is missing, so how do you come forward as an individual with your innovation, with your innovative mind, with some innovative products and services, which actually fills the gap? And that is exactly where the entrepreneurship happens. Loads of new entrepreneurs, and we are users of those products and services, which happened because of the fact they found some gap. And that gap happens when you're actually in a scenario which is against normal. So are we looking at those possibilities? Are we looking at those, I would say, with a mindset of design thinking? Because most of you in the audience are engineers, and I'm sure you would appreciate the whole process. And Dr. Mishra talked about prototyping in an entrepreneurial journey. So how do you do that? Actually, it's an opportunity for you and support India's mission of Make in India, Entrepreneurship India, Startup India. And this is a time to take a leap and take that possibilities in your hand and say that, you know what, I will start coding. There is no such thing that only engineers can code. Loads and loads of non-engineers are coming up for coding. Why am I saying coding? Because there are loads of people right now, they had been under pressure from morning till night, and they and I'm just giving an example that it's basically, I read in news that they actually decided as employees to move out and started taking projects for companies, which is somewhere they would see value creation. And these are the gig economy people who started working as entrepreneurs and started working with organization. What I would add to conclude this is that one needs to have some basic skill besides our technology based skill, like analytical skill, which is key. Of course, all can't be coders, but your ability to look into the fact that how this platform happens and what can I do differently. Most important part for people is networking skill and social skill. Because when you're talking about entrepreneurship, your layers which I mentioned in inception, that your immediate layers, your networking layers are the people who will come forward and start creating that ecosystem for us to ensure that we are able to either test or take guidance, advices, and also use our prototypes initially as user testing, and later actually scale. And that is where probably your capability in terms of using your network is going to help. And please don't forget your social profile. When we are doing so much on social media through not only just LinkedIn, it's a very formal structure when we say LinkedIn. Overall social profile, how you are tweeting, who are you following, with whom you are conversing, how you're looking at your Facebook and utilization of Facebook, Instagram, are you chatting with the right people? That whole social profile enables an individual to connect to the journey. It is not per se which product, services, and do I have fun, do I have capability. There is a complete gamut of skill which is required to ensure that and you have the ability to respond to it. And students can learn from many colleges like Delhi College of Engineering, which is DTU. They have ECEL. ECEL actually goes ahead and works with the organization on projects. So I'm sure you also have something in those lines. But yes, I would, say that don't worry that as an individual, what will I do? Just reflect how doctors, lawyers, chartered accountants, they don't even care, whether they're working for organization or, for big companies. They know that they have skill which will allow them to run their own business and run their house. I think that's what I want to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Very, very insightful again. Now, since I've got an idea, like everybody of us have got an idea that what is the job scenario. It's not as gloomy as it looks like. There is a lot of positivity going on. It's in the air. Positivity is in the air. It's our perspective that how do we take it, and little diversion is required. So my concluding question to all the speakers would be, do you think industry professionals can play an important role in improving the situation which we are facing today? Like, can they handhold the students and bring about a change? Starting with Ms. Hema, your perspective on this. Can industry professionals bring about a change?
Yeah. It is an absolute yes. Industry and academia partnership, in fact, over the last few years have become closer and closer. And I think it's even more important right now that the industry and academia partnership becomes more intense, because it's not that the students who require the job, it's also the industries that also require a certain new kind of skills. And these skills may not put in the curriculum in the mainstream of an engineering or an MBA student. I mean, if you look at a MBA course today, we still are probably following the same pattern of curriculum what we had developed about 20-35 years and probably borrowed more from the West. It's probably time now, when we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, should we relook at the MBA curriculum and make it more mainstream to our traditional needs? How does this really help a grassroots artisan? How do we help uplift a grassroots handicraft artisan and bring them into the mainstream and thereby create a whole new market space, right? I'm just giving an example like that. So yes, the industry academia partnership needs to be much more intense in two ways. One is, of course, reskilling, and the second is curriculum revisiting and making sure it is more in the current needs of the industry. I mean, we heard from Shankar, we heard from Sharat. All of them are, and including me, if you were to ask the same question to me, I would have probably laid out the same new skills, right? What we spoke about. So the partnership needs to be, in fact, even more intense, and a more incubated atmosphere needs to be created by both academia and the industry.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Vinod Parur, your remark on this, like how it can be done, how this industry academia relationship can be made more robust?
See, absolutely. I think no one from the industry would have any doubt about this. I think you use the word handholding. I would use a term like a partnership, as Hema rightly said. The relationship is mutual. So both need each other. So it's not that the students are dependent on the industry. It's vice versa, and it's a give and take kind of a thing. So I think there's opportunity available now. I think this virtual or the digital thing opening up, no longer physical presence are required. So the kind of seminar what we are doing, the kind of interaction what we are doing is one way of doing it. So I think there are many opportunities now. I think even we have started doing that. There are live projects which the students are working on for the industry. So I think there is a lot of opportunity. I think important here is the right intention. I think each one of us has the right intention and find the right way of working. I think we can go ahead. So it has to be a mutually way of going forward to it. And now I think in this scenario, we have this opportunity, which may be restricted before, but I think now it's quite open, and there's a lot of opportunity available to do it. So there are plenty. You can have coaching, you can work on live projects, do seminars like this, and I think this is the thing which is going to be the new normal for the way we would operate going forward.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mishra, we would like to hear your perspective on this. Will it be fruitful for the students?
Needless to say that academia and industry linkage is very important, but then the time has come when emotional bonds need to be developed. Unfortunate part is that we don't find sponsoring of problems of industry to the academia. We tried in vain. Since I have worked as a vice chancellor, I worked as a professor, and working with the students community and interacting with many industry. I'm not accusing, but I have been quite disappointed in the sense that the kind of response that we get from the industry side is not so encouraging. Like what you see, for example, in UK, USA, where the endowment fund is floating, from the industry in order to strengthen a particular academic institution, and many projects are being given to academic colleges and academic institutions to undertake to be undertaken by the students. Unfortunately, this system is not prevailing in India, and people are talking about it but not tuning with this. Although we have variety of facility, immense facilities in the institution, which can be taken up by the industry. Industry can take advantage of it for research and development instead of undertaking. Even the industry at our end, very limited number of industries are going for research and development. Now those industries who are not able to go for research and development, can they find a place in the academic institution to undertake research and development with the help of students? And the students are wonderful, wonderfully, they are getting themselves involved in, solving the problem. So my submission would be that a kind of relook and rethinking need to be done by the industry. Maybe, their problems with the academic institutions are different. Maybe the academic institutions, they don't have the capacity and capability to that extent to solve their problem. It could be there, but all institutions are not like that. We need to develop a relinking with the industry and academic institution. So that's what I would like to conclude by saying. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sharad, quick 10 seconds remark.
Yeah, so I always give this analogy that in mobile phones we have this reset button. So I think this is a time when everything has to be reset. What worked in past may not work in the new scenario, and I just want to give comfort to the students. They may think that the large corporates possibly have cracked the new way of working. I can assure you that every corporate today is as confused as anybody else, because every day is a new day. There is no playbook. For this particular pandemic, there is no playbook. So as we are learning, I think there is an equal amount of responsibility from the corporates to partner with the colleges and the universities to really enroll them on preparing the future leaders for any organization and any corporate. So I agree there has to be a need to have more robust and more relevant engagement, which is one, setting out the expectation on what is that which is required in future, and what is that which the academicians will have to kind of focus on in preparing these students for next 3 years and 4 years. So, I agree to Mishra sir that, you know, we may make tall claims that there is a strong bonding of corporate and academic institutions. It is not. I think it is very transactional today. The engagements are very, very transactional because you need students. That's why the engagement happens. I don't think so many corporates are really spending time with owning up institutes and, you know, saying that, okay, fine, these set of institutes we own up, and it is our moral responsibility to really help the institutes in making more relevant academics, making more relevant courses, and also handholding these students to groom and to be future ready for any interface with the corporate. So I agree that there is a need to have more engagement.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shankar, quick 10 seconds remark.
Yeah, I have an idea to share. Apart from the regular memorandum signing and then asking corporate to come and share the knowledge and then take the students, I have another point to say. Whenever there is a knowledge sharing, success stories sharing happening in the corporate, you should find out the time to have 1 or 2 students, or 4 or 5 students to go there and then be there. Could be a annual meet, or best employee recognition time, or this cross-functional team, the improvement projects that they do in a company, when they used to have a recognition time where the employees come and say the success stories. If you could let the students be a part of it after signing a agreement with the corporates, then the students will get a very good idea of it, and then they will learn quickly to stay relevant, as I've been telling, to stay relevant. And I have to tell you, this is not only hand holding, but nowadays, it is like it's a double VUCA world. People used to say VUCA world. It is double VUCA now. So people have to be a trekker. Not that the corporate person will handhold and then help the student to come up. This person has to be like a cliffhanger. You need to trek on your own so that you will accelerate more your vehicle, and then your vehicle will go faster. The vehicle could be the corporate here. So this idea I thought I should present here.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Runa Mitra.
Okay, so my closing remark would largely contain that there are certain possibilities we possibly don't explore. That is, there are loads of researchers and authors who are proficient, who are well trained, and who demonstrate in academia that how good they are. And if corporate side also do a lot of market research, they need certain substantiation of their findings. If both collaborate and they do research together, they also can put together articles, papers, and author books. And that is possibly where also collaboration required. I think the academia many times grapples with primary data. I think most of the conferences I attend, which, pardon me for this, many times I find the findings are more related to secondary data. India, as a researcher, I would say, do not produce too many, papers based on India data, which is primary data, and look at our population. Can't we do that? I think that is exactly where the availability of primary data, loads of them, lies with corporate, whereas they have loads of constraint. But if they can look at possibility and they allow academia to work together on those data and produce good work and good learning, good knowledge, for the future, or also for corporate, I think that is where the good marriage would happen between both industry. And also a small point about, again, related to entrepreneurship. If we can also collaborate in terms of, if academia has space, so if you look at co-working places and, creating, some kind of a co-work or entrepreneur cell, and industry mentors come and collaborate with students, and there they actually create a complete entrepreneurship scenario. I think students don't have to go out and start looking for something. They will have within their premise loads of mentors and industry stalwarts coming and hand holding them. So that is my view.
Thank you, ma'am. And since this were the concluding remarks from all the panelists, I thank all of them for very useful insights, for sharing some very useful insights, which will be helpful for the students to decide that what they have to do now in this crisis situation. And now I won't call it a crisis situation because all the panelists have given a very positive picture, and they have raised positivity amongst us that the things are not that bad, they are good. There are certain areas which need to be looked up. We need to brush up our skills. Students need to brush up their skills. They need to up skills, and they need to change. I like this word, from vanilla skills to some contemporary skills, so that they are in the mainstream. They are able to find new opportunities. And since, as Aruna ma'am said, necessity is the need of invention. So there are new opportunities coming up, new companies coming up, new types of skills are coming up which are required and which will be in the future. Mr. Sharad made some very strong statements that the students of passing out this year will lay the foundation for the next 15 years. So that is a very strong statement coming from him, and some very honest statements coming from all the speakers, the esteemed panelists, that we need to have a very strong bondage between industry and academia. And industry and academia, they both have to come up, they both will have to step up in order to develop a partnership, which is a win-win situation for both of them. So with this, I end this session and open the house for question answer session. So questions are welcome from the audience. If you have any question, please, you are free to ask our panelists, our esteemed panelists.
Ma'am, I have a question here. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Very good morning to the esteemed panel. It was a great pleasure to listen to all the people, and this made my day really, the insights and the knowledge that came from the panel. I gave marketing classes, and actually it's not a question, like since this COVID thing has crept in, business practices have changed, meeting the customers have become very difficult, product demonstrations have become difficult. So things have changed, things have turned more uncomfortable for the businesses, and business practices have become difficult. So I want my panel to just tell me whether I'm right or wrong when I say that since all these things seem temporary, and tomorrow, after maybe 6 or 7 months, we have a solution for this problem. So when we have a solution for this problem, we'll get back to the older business practices that we were following in 2019 and 18 and before that. So is it a bubble, or is it a long-term thing that businesses will have to follow?
Would anybody is your answer to any specific member? Is your question to any specific panelist?
Anybody can answer. Maybe
I'll take a cut at it, Mr. Ashish. So yes, everybody for the last 100 years, possibly that's what my record says. We've never faced a health crisis like what we are facing right now, right? So it is certainly a shocker, a big shocker to the entire global economy, and we are part of the entire global stratosphere, if you will. So yes, there has been a shake-up, there has been a stop button, but now what I'm personally experiencing from across industries, not just my industry, but I'm also in networking with so many others, everybody is looking at various opportunities to reboot. And I think if you really look at from an academic standpoint, from a student standpoint, many of the final year students are right now at that leg where they are probably looking at opportunities for higher education or just moving into their job job, their occupations. So probably it'll take a few months for the whole thing to stabilize and set in itself. The way I draw an analogy is, आप एक बर्तन पे कुछ है and you're just shaking up. There's a huge shakeout right now that's happening. It will settle down, and once that settle down, things will start moving in. And actually, the way I'm extremely positive. I always believe never waste a crisis, because in crisis lies the opportunity to innovate and create. And what we are all being tested with as human beings is how resilient are we, and how can we think differently? As an academic, can I think differently from a curriculum standpoint? As a HR leader, can I think differently on how am I hiring, training, engaging people, right? And similarly, so on and so forth for various other functions. So I think very nice testing point for us, and we just have to bear with it, allow this curve to come out. There's a beautiful psychological curve, a change curve. We're all going through that trough, we're lifting ourselves slowly up. This will come out, we will all be good, and I think there'll be newer opportunities out there, is my belief.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else?
From my side, I would like to tell a point here, Mr. Ashish. In our companies across the world, China was suffering in the month of Jan, Feb, and March, and their production and the sales has come down drastically. And today we could see their zone has been turned into green, and then the production revived so nicely. And then when we see the 8 clusters that we have across the world, China is back again with the 2-3 months dip, and now they have back again with a very big bounce back kind of a thing, where still US and Europe are struggling. And in India, yes, from our side, we were trying to catch up in mid of August is what we are thinking, like we could come back to the pre-COVID times of production. That is what the industry experts are saying in our relevant industry. So let's hope for the best, and then stay work, do research and all that, keep ourselves stay relevant, and then I think the market will definitely revive back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. So I would again thank all my panelists for a wonderful session here. It was a very knowledgeable, enlightening, and insightful. We learned a lot from your experiences, which you shared with all of us. And I thank all the participants who joined here for this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And we are on time.
Thank you, Monica. Wonderful moderation.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you, everyone. Please do take care.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
All the best.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay motivated. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.